Hello, just Gem here and welcome, or indeed welcome back to my channel. This is probably a little bit overdue and it's mainly because I've been putting it off, to be perfectly honest. I wanted to make sure that I was switched on. So I'm going back over some palettes that I've tried and I'm letting you know what do I think now. And I just wanted to have a clear head and not make it something that I rushed through or anything like that. I've got a cup of tea on the go and I'm feeling ready. I'm feeling good. So I think now is a good time to go back and let you know what I think of some palettes that I tried. Some of these are quite some time ago now, quite some time. I'm not going to put my other light on because when I do, a lot of my palettes become very washed out. So we're not going to do that today. And we're going to start with the Colourpop and Stranger Things palette. And this I tried a while ago and I've dipped into it again a few times. And I don't know why it got, well, maybe it's a bit extreme to say it got slated. I don't feel like this is one that got a lot of attention, or maybe it's just because Colourpop churn palettes out so much that it's on to the next and anything remotely historic just gets forgotten and cast aside. But I really liked this palette the first time I tried it. I've enjoyed it since I've gone back to it. I think what would be my critiques? I'm not keen on that yellow, but I'm not surprised. I bang on about it all the time. Yellow is notoriously difficult and it's very rare that I find a yellow that impresses me, but there is one in one of these palettes that's coming up. I found the embossings quite cute. You can't really see the embossings anymore. A little bit, but they're... So that the waffle, the yellow one had a waffle on it. That's got 11 and this had a Demogorgon. The creature. I haven't watched the show, but I picked this up just because I like the colour story. This is my only Colourpop palette, which is a surprise even to me, but I've been intrigued by Colourpop, but I've always just been put off because of the shipping and the taxes that I would have to pay. I don't know what made me go for this. Was there some kind of free shipping promotion or something? There must have been a reason. I think I picked this up with a few other bits and pieces. For the price, which I can't remember off the top of my head, but for a Colourpop palette and for the price, I like this. I think it's cheap and cheerful. I want to say I picked it up on sale. I think so. But yeah, I like this. Could I have maybe dipped into this palette for what I've got on my eyes today. But yeah, I like that. I know a lot of people were a bit meh about this, at least some of the people that like the reviews I've watched, but I quite like it, and maybe one of the reasons why I do like it is because it's my only Colourpop palette, so I've got nothing to compare it to. But even when I think about other palettes that I own, is it the best in formula and whatnot? No, but it's decent for the price. Absolutely. Next up, Divination, Robert Welsh and Blend Bunny. This I've used a lot. I remember I had a conference not too long after I got this, and I took this with me because it was one of those where I could do like some neutral everyday looks, and if I wanted like a pop of colour, I think there was one day when I sort of mixed the brown and the purple rose together. But it's a really versatile palette. If you want to go super neutral, you can add a few pops of colour. I really like this. I do. I did wonder when I got this palette how I would feel about it and how I thought it would end up ranking amongst my Blend Bunny palettes that I have. I still think Longing tops this for me, but I think I'd probably put this above Little Miss. And then as for the rest of them, I'm not sure yet because I've only just got Beauty Below and I still haven't tried Le yet. Machina, I think I do prefer this to Machina. I do quite like Machina, but no, I think this is above Machina. Maybe for the time being, it's probably Longing, this, Machina, Little Miss. I really like Beauty Below, but I've used it once in the video that I filmed. I haven't gone back to it yet, so I don't think it's fair to even try and rank it. But I do really like this. I like the fact that it's got the 2 shimmer columns on either end. I like the fact that it's rainbow-esque and it looks really muted there. Is it a bit better if I put it on there? See, I don't feel like the Colourpop palette looked as muted as this, and I've deliberately not put my extra light on so it doesn't completely wash out all my palettes, but this still looks muted, and this is one of the things I found when I saw it being promoted. I don't think any photos did it justice, because yes, it's muted, but it's more colourful than that. It definitely is. This shade, I mean, Oracle. I think I swatch Oracle every time I get the opportunity to. And you'll have to excuse my old swatches from when I was doing the look that's on my face at the moment. But yeah, that's Oracle. And then should we just swatch Lucky, because we can. Swatch it next to that. Yeah, I do like that. Funny enough, like, I know it's not meant to be talking. I'm not supposed to be talking about Beauty Below yet. And I made a comment about how I didn't think the shimmers were the best in the world, but I don't know, was I being a bit harsh? I think the Beauty Below shimmers are quite nice. They're different. Maybe I'll do like an in-depth comparison. I'll like pull out just to see how they compare, because they are different. And I just want to get a better idea in my mind of what, like, the shimmer formula in Longing versus Machina versus Divination versus Beauty Below. Because I think there's some, I feel like these shimmers might be the same as the Little Miss. Possibly. I'm not sure. But yeah, I do like this. I do like this. I remember I wasn't sure initially, decided to go for it. I do like Robert, and I do like it. And it's a shame that it looks so washed out. It's not that washed out in real life, I promise. Really, really versatile. I think that's one of the main things about this that I really like. It's almost like it's an excellent introductory palette for someone who loves a bit of neutral, wants to try a bit of colour but is a bit nervous. I think Divination is that palette. I also think that due to the nature of it, because it has the colourfulness and it has those neutral tones, but it is a bit more subdued, this is something I can see myself travelling with, like for a work related event, because I can get a good variety. Like, I don't think, for example, I wouldn't travel, that's the back of the palette, but I wouldn't travel with Stranger Things, for example, but I'd definitely travel with Divination, just to give you a bit of an idea there. Next up, I've got 'Tis the Season, and this is one, so there's a few palettes in here that I've got around Christmas time, and because I was wearing makeup a lot around Christmas time, I had an opportunity to use these palettes a lot too. 'Tis the Season is one of those, and I mean, it's been said before, I'll say it again. See, that doesn't look muted. What is it about Divination where the lights just completely wash it out? I don't know. But yeah, I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's something that a lot of people have been saying. It's the Quality Street wrappers in a palette. And considering it's a Christmas themed palette, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it works. It's... I don't know where I'd kind of rank this among my Cosmic Brushes palettes. This is... I'm in two minds about Cranberries, this shade here. So there it looks red. If I move it a bit, would it show the green? See, maybe it's green. But it's one of those ones, it's like the red to green shift, or red to like orangey shift. I guess it's slightly different in this one because it's got more of that orange tone to it. I do feel like this shift has been overdone a bit, but I'll allow it because it is a very Christmassy themed palette, and I think it works in this colour story. I think it's incredibly festive. You've got that festive Christmassy tree row. You've got like the baked goods row. You've got I think someone commented on my reel of the swatches about how, you know, it's Christmas tree, like the cookie row, the party row, and then like the gifting row or something, which was kind of a cool interpretation of the different rows. And, you know, they've kind of got that monochromaticness across the rows, like green, brown, purple, pinky red at the bottom here. It's what I would like to do, and maybe now that I'm slowing down on the purchasing and I want to go back to some of my old palettes, I would like to pair this actually with Delicious Delights, because I think they would pair really nicely. So maybe I'll do a palette bingo with this and Delicious Delights. I'm trying to think, which one would I prefer out of those two? I quite like the lightness, the airiness of Delicious Delights, but then I quite like the depth of 'Tis the Season. I did enjoy this over Christmas. I don't think, have I dipped into it since? Yes, I have. Yes, where are we now? Because we're in March. I have, but as I say, around Christmas time, that's when I really filled my boots and used this a lot. I think when it comes to cosmic brushes, you just can't go wrong with the formula. It's a bit drier. I think I've mentioned it before, it's not necessarily my favourite indie brand formula, but it's very good. It's very, very good. And as long as they don't change it, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, very much applies in this case. For me, if you're thinking to yourself, ooh, is Tis the Season one I should grab, bear in mind it's limited edition, so once it is sold out, I think there's still availability at the moment, but once this is sold out, it's not coming back. If you like the Cosmic Brushes formula in general, and this is a colour story that you like, then it's a no-brainer. I'm happy that I've got this one, especially considering it's limited edition. And I can see myself, I mean, it's not just it is a very festive palette, but you don't have to restrict yourself and only use it at Christmas time. Next, I'm going to group some palettes together, and they're all from Nomad. Fuji 5 Lakes, Polar Express, Wild Atlantic Way, and Haunted Europe. So this, I think originally I filmed 3 looks with it, and then it's one that I've dipped into just here. I think I'm drawn to this because it's green. Green's one of my favourite colours, so it's one that I just naturally gravitate towards. And as I say, I've just filmed with this again, and yeah, I really enjoyed that. Nomad have just, I think they've come leaps and bounds with their formula. So to give you an idea, while I thoroughly enjoy the colour story and the vibes, like I've just got this incredible soft spot for this palette. I couldn't tell you why. I just do. I think it's like the colour story, and maybe it is the fact that it's got a shade called Highgate Cemetery, and Highgate is up the road from where I used to live. And it's gothy, but it's got a brightness to it. Yes, the 2 golds in here are probably closer than I would prefer them to be, and the formula's just not great. It isn't. It's not, well, not by Nomad standards. It's still decent, it's still pretty good, but by Nomad standards, considering how far they've come, it's not the best. But I just really love this colour story. There's just something about it. And maybe it's because it's got blue, purple, green, I don't know. But I'm just really fond of this palette. I'm attached to it for some reason. It's one that I'm glad that I own, especially because Nomad tends to, they'll do a few runs potentially and then they won't do it again. I think, have I mentioned it in a video before? I'm not sure, but I'll mention it again. 3, or at least 3, there might be more, I'm not sure, but some of their older palettes are coming back, and I think they're tweaking some of the formulas here and there. So keep your eyes peeled for some re-releases of some previous palettes. Would I like them to revamp this? Quite possibly. I'd be intrigued. I mean, if they were to revamp this, I don't know if this would overtake New Zealand Stargazing if they were to revamp the formula, but that might push it quite high up in the ranking. This isn't one of the ones they're re-releasing. I mean, they've only just re-released it, which is why I've got my hands on it. But yeah, I really like this one. This is another one that I've almost gone out of my way to use more. Just a bit of a reminder of Wild Atlantic Way. Do you know, my main gripe with this has got to be the packaging. You would think that that's been through the wars, and that's just because the feltiness just attracts everything. Recently, playing around with these shimmers, I didn't use that one, I used these two in the end, but I did like a mini swatch party, and it just kind of reminded me all over again of why I enjoy this palette. Would I prefer, I think I've said it before, one deep brown shade in here would really round this off for me. So I'd be quite happy if either Connemara, Malinhead or Danny Boy were discarded. Probably Malinhead of the 3 are the ones. So that's Connemara there, that's Malinhead, and that's Danny Boy. So probably Malinhead, I'd get rid of that and I'd put like a deep brown in, and I think that would really round off the palette nicely. But I'm a green lover. I'm biased. I was always going to love this palette. Is it my favourite green palette that I own? I think I'd probably reach for this over Undergrowth, and I think I'd even reach for Earthy before I reached for Undergrowth. And it's because I like the vibrant greens, I think, that are in here and in Earthy. And like Earthy is one that encompasses both almost, but then Earthy doesn't have the special shades like Undergrowth and Wild Atlantic Way does. And on my eyes at the moment, and that wasn't planned per se, it's not like I thought to myself, I'm going to be filming, or what do I think now? Let's make sure I use some palettes that I need to include in that video. It was just how it ended up happening. So I would like to say it was strategic and I planned it. No such luck. But I have got, I can't even say it's one on each because it's a mixture, but I've got Polar Express and Fuji 5 Lakes on my eyes. I definitely prefer Fuji 5 Lakes out of these two. What makes me say that? It's the colour story. Because I'd say the formula is on par, but that's a bit, not boring is a bit harsh. Oh, but no, boring, yeah, boring's harsh. It's just a bit more neutral leaning. So this is one of those, it's almost the opposite of neutral with a pop of blue. It's blue with a pop of neutral, isn't it? And I remember I wasn't 100% sure about getting this because I felt like the blue side was something I already had maybe in Winter Wonderland, which I haven't used anywhere near enough. Have I actually used Winter Wonderland? I don't think I have. That's bad, isn't it? Right, I'll have to remedy that. I think that's probably one of the reasons why I hesitated getting this, because the blue shades in here, I thought, well, I've got those in Winter Wonderland and haven't even touched that yet. But I don't know, there was just something about it in the end that made me cave and get it. This was there was no question. I saw this and I was like, yeah, I want that. And I do enjoy that. And I remember the first time I tried it out, I was pretty impressed. And even just, how many times have I used it since? I think this is one I pulled out over Christmas, and obviously I say I've just used it, so it's fresh in my mind. Nomad have just leveled it up with the formula. They really have. I still haven't properly tried Ghost Town USA, so that's probably going to be next on my list after Winter Wonderland, because I should really use that. On the whole, Nomad I think are just killing it at the moment. They really are. Not even at the moment, just because when I think how old is Wild Atlantic Way at this point? How old is Haunted Europe at this point? Really enjoying Nomad. Obviously I recently tried Chamonix and that was good. But I obviously need to dip into that more, use more of the shades, so we'll revisit that in a future What Do I Think Now. Next up are two other palettes that I used a lot over Christmas, and I think it's just the timing really of when I got them. So the first one is Grackle Chat, and if you watched my palettes I Can Never Declutter video, you'll probably have a fair idea how I feel about this already. Love it. Love it. I mean this shade here, is that Flashing Feathers? Yeah, it's just, every time I pull it out I have to shove my finger in this shade. It's really bad. I'm going to end up hitting pan just because I keep swatching this one solitary shade. But I don't know if you can see that. And then if I swatch it here, it's just beautiful. Just beautiful. I have noticed, let me shove my finger in this as well. So this is Dripping Feathers. This has got some oiliness to it, which has only just started to kind of seep through. And I don't know if you'll be able to see on the camera, but there's just this little oil pool that's kind of seeping through. So that's made me want to try this palette again, like now those oils have peeked through, because I'm curious. See, it doesn't feel oily. It doesn't feel oily. But now I want to try that again just to see if that breaks up on the lid at all. Ooh, Grackle Stare, that's always a good one to swatch. Grackle Stare. I'm not having a swatch party on my face because I want to take some more pictures of my look, but look at Grackle Stare. Seriously, I need to. This I'm seriously in danger of just panning the shades in this just from swatching them over and over again. Evening Sunbath, just Evening Sunbath, and then I'll stop. That's Evening Sunbath. Ooh, that's like Cranberries, but on steroids. Can you see that? So that's Cranberries and that's Evening Sunbath. Titanium Foxes. I still don't know about Jay's Joy. I haven't put Poppy Quiet in here because I want to use Poppy Quiet more. Like Grackle Chat I've used way more. Part of me feels like I don't know if I'd have got Poppy Quiet if I had Jay's Joy first, just because I feel like Poppy Quiet is the lighter version of Jay's Joy. I feel like Jay's Joy is like the melanin friendly, or like the deep skin tone friendly version of Poppy Quiet. Is there room for, there probably is room for both. I want to see someone, if I kind of have seen it, but I need to see it again. I want to see the swatches side by side. I want someone to go through and do like the like for like swatches just so I can see it in my mind, because I do think I still want to get Poppy Storm at some point. And now I'm kind of thinking to myself, when I pick up Poppy Storm, do I want to get Jay's Joy, or is that one I will skip? I don't know. Or maybe I'll bide my time just to see what else Titanium Foxes comes out with later on in the year, because I can't imagine it's just going to be Jay's Joy. But Grackle Chat, I think I would say I do prefer Grackle Chat to Poppy Quiet. But then I don't know if that's just because I've used Grackle Chat more. I'm not sure. But I do like them both. I don't know. I don't know if I could pick. But I think Grackle Chat just edges in front of Poppy Quiet at the moment. I think so. And then the other palette that I used a lot over Christmas, and that again I've been drawn to it, even at times when I've thought to myself, no, pick out a different palette so you can keep using a different palette. I'm like, no, I want this one. I'm like a small child. I keep reaching for this, and this is funny to me because this is one that I almost completely passed over just because I couldn't get my head around the layout of this palette, and I'm kind of glad I didn't let that put me off permanently because I love this palette. I really do. I don't like the shade. Well, don't like is not right. I'm not sure I see the point of the shade Candle. I think I said that at the time I did the initial looks with it. It's a black with red sparkles in it. I don't think we need it. We've got Muerte, the black down here. I think the other sort of gripe, for want of a better word, is that Candle is a better black. Yeah, see it pisses all over it. See, that's Candle and it's got the red sparkles, and that's Muerte. So I could do with that as the black without the red shimmers and just get rid of that. We don't need that if we've got that without the sparkles in it. So that's my only gripe, because I just think the sparkles just get lost. You don't really see them, so I think it's kind of pointless. But I've thoroughly enjoyed the looks that I've created with this, and if anything, I think the jumbled layout has forced me to be a bit more creative and maybe put colours together that I wouldn't have done. I've been really enjoying that. I think I want to film with this again. Yeah, I might have to put that in the rotation as well, just because I really like it. I'd be intrigued to see. I wouldn't mind trying one or two other Gourmand Girls palettes just so I can see what the formula is like. You know, have they upgraded it? Have they changed it? Is it consistent? And I think this is the one. I was about to completely skip over it. Marigold. So when I talked about a yellow that I've been impressed with, it's this one right here. That's a good yellow. Really good yellow. So I think that's one of the reasons why I'd be keen to try more from Gourmand Girls. But it's just, it's the price point. So this I ended up picking up because it went on sale on Monolith, so it ended up being worth it. So maybe I'll just keep an eye out. Plus it's a colour story that I like, so Frozen Kiss and Bitten weren't ones that I thought, oh yes, I need to have that, so that's another reason why I probably won't pick them up. But I'm looking out for more colour stories from Gourmand Girls, because if this is anything to go by, I'd like to try more down the line. I'm not in any hurry, like I'm quite happy continuing to use Calavera for the time being, but I would be intrigued to try more from the brand, definitely. The last two is going to be Urban Neutrals and Vintage Neutrals. For some reason, I don't know why, but I said I think I'd prefer Vintage Neutrals more than Urban Neutrals. I was clearly chatting out of my backside. I don't know why I would said that, especially when you see the colour stories inside. Urban Neutrals is quite clearly more up my alley. And I think I just thought in my head that I would like Vintage more because of the potential versatility. So that's Vintage and that's Urban. See, that's just like the blues, the purples, and then it's got the browns in there to help you pull things together with a bit more neutrality. And I thought I would like this more just because it's more variety. There's more variation in there. But yeah, who am I kidding? Who am I kidding? But it's the shade City. Oh, I mean, for that shade alone. Ooh. But then, is it Glamour? Oh, they're quite similar in a way, actually. Glamour's got more pink, though. So I'd say, are they the same formula? No, they're not the same formula. But, yeah, Glamour's definitely got more pink to it. Well, I do like this. Like, I actually, I wore this in the office last week, I think. Yeah, last week I wore this because I posted a story. And it was a very pretty look I ended up doing, actually. But I think the favourite looks I've done with this are the looks that I did in the video when I first tested it. Those are my favourite looks I've done. The ones I've done since, I did like the one when I was in the office last week, but definitely the ones I did in the video, especially, was it the green one I especially liked? But yeah, I like it, I don't love it. Yes, I like it, I don't love it. This, on the other hand, this is a love. This is a love, definitely. And I still stand by what I said. If I could only have this or Culturals, it would be this. And I think it's a combination of preferring the formula in Artitude and appreciating the fact that this has got some browns in it which are missing from Culturals. So this might have 16 shades, whereas Culturals has 20, but I would pick this over Culturals. I would. The more I've used Artitude, the more I've come to really enjoy the formula. I've really been liking that, and it's probably up there. I think that's probably the next thing I want to do. I mean, formulas are subjective, I've said that before, and I'm just trying to think of the palettes I've got in front of me, like which formulas are the ones that I would gravitate more towards. Oh, that's tricky. Because I'm really enjoying the recent Nomad formula. Titanium Foxes is just different. I don't, there's nothing like it. Not that I found. If you've tried anything that's like Titanium Foxes, do let me know because I'm really curious. What else have we got here? Blend Bunny. I mean, I do like the way Blend Bunny blend. But I do think, like, thinking about Divination exclusively, the shimmers are good, but I'd go for the shimmers in Nomad before I went for the shimmers in Blend Bunny, I think. And definitely the shimmers in Grackle Chat. Ooh, wowzers. For me, I'd say that Cosmic's formula is a little bit lower. I don't know, I think I'll do a separate video and I'll just decide how I feel about all the different formulas. But those are the palettes that I wanted to come back and give you a bit of an update now and let you know what I'm thinking. There isn't one that I dislike. If I had to, I don't know if I could pick a favourite, but I could potentially pick a least favourite. And I think it would be Vintage Neutrals, only because of the colour story. Nothing wrong with the formula, but it's really bizarre from saying that I thought that this would be my favourite of the two to being like, of all these palettes, this is probably my least favourite. This is thinking about colour stories I would love, or colour stories I love and colour stories I'd lean towards. This isn't something I would see me naturally wanting to pick. I can see myself gravitating to Calavera. I've already been gravitating towards this. Really enjoying that. This inspires me. Like, I pick this up and I feel inspired more so than I do with Vintage. This is something I feel drawn to. This is another one that I've kind of had to tell myself several times, put it down, use something else. I lean towards this as well. The Nomad ones, funnily enough, like, still, I mean, I've said it before but about the palette being, you know, the formula not being the best. I love that. But this is probably the one that I seem to be drawn to the most. I don't know why. Divination is one I reach for just because of that. I mean, not just because of the practicality. The practicality is one reason I reach for Divination a lot. and one reason why I tend to pick it to travel with, just because it's a one-stop shop. But I also really like it. Heavily blue, purple, green, so it's got that going for it as well. Thinking about what I'm drawn to the most, that's why I would have to put vintage neutrals at the bottom. No duds, as I say, just going by personal preference mainly on the colour story. Vintage neutral would just probably rate at the bottom out of all of those. And I feel a bit bad saying that, but I just can't help it. Knowing how I feel about it now, I don't know that I would have picked it up. And as I say, that's no reflection of the quality of it. Maybe I'm being too harsh, and maybe I just need to dip into it more. Because I'm looking at it now, I'm like, oh, but it's really pretty, why don't you like it? No, it's not that I don't like it. I do like it. But I don't necessarily feel creative or inspired when I pick it up, and I don't know why. I'm going to leave it there because I would like to go to bed at some point. But that is a roundup of what I think about these palettes now. Do you own any of these palettes? Are you eyeing any of these palettes? Do you agree with what I've said, or are you thinking, Jeremy, you're talking complete nonsense? Like, how can you not like vintage neutrals? It's the best palette that's ever been released. As always, thank you for taking the time to watch. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I also hope to see you again in a video in the not too distant future. Take care. Bye. So this, I think I initially created 3 looks with it. I happen to have filmed, I've got it backwards. I don't know if that would overtake Wild Atlantic Way, that might be.